Hello again. Now, since I started doing these videos back in the summer of last year, I've been watching the statistics, if you like, to see the kind of things that people were most interested in finding out about with regard to anxiety. And the thing that's consistently come up top of the list has been how people should deal with the symptoms, the physical symptoms of anxiety. This has been a very popular subject, and understandably so. Now, on my the first video I did about it, I talked a lot in detail about the various types of anxiety symptom that people get, and there are many of these, and it's very rare for any one person to get all of them. There's usually particular ones that people have. Now, what I wanted to do on this video was to expand a bit on it, to talk about more about what people should do to handle the way they feel with anxiety. Now, I know I've talked a lot about this on my other videos, but there are some points about all this that certainly bear repeating, because from my contacts with various people as a result of my videos, it's often very clear that people still can't quite grasp what it is they should do about their symptoms. Now, there's an excellent book around by Paul David. It's called At Last Alive, and he's a recovered anxiety sufferer, and he talks about his own story, and it's a good book. It's an interesting read, so if you haven't read that one, I would recommend it. But there's one thing in it which a therapist told him at one point, which it sums up really why so many people get stuck in this state. And this therapist told Paul David that he will never recover while he was trying so hard to recover. And that's exactly right. It's the constant struggle to get out of this state that keeps the whole thing going. And if you follow my other videos, and if you've read Dr. Weeks and listened to her recordings, then you'll know why this is so. Now, this week I've had a couple of interesting experiences which illustrate what I mean about what you need to do, because the first occasion was pretty horrible for me, I have to admit, but I learnt from it, and I followed it up by what I could term quite a success for me the following day. Now, this kind of all the things that happened in these two events kind of highlight all the points that I keep making about anxiety and what you need to do about it. Now, on Monday, all I was doing was to go out, and I had to get a card from my wife because it's one of our anniversaries. It was actually the anniversary of our first meeting. We always give each other a card each year. And it was a terrible day out there. It was pouring with rain, and I waited and waited and waited. I didn't have much money, and I didn't know what I was going to do with the little money I had left. And all morning I waited for the rain to ease off, and it wouldn't. And eventually, about 1ish, I decided, well, I can't wait any longer. Rain or no rain, I'll just go out. And getting a car involved walking in the rain, which, so... But I mean, it was really bucketing down, and I just thought, oh God, I can't face doing this, not in this weather. However, I was set off, and it was because of all the tension and agitation I've been building up all morning, just preparing myself to do this. I was in a pretty bad state by the time I actually left and drove to the shops. And this is a typical example of how fear and the symptoms that you get with fear, how they can increase and increase and increase. And this is exactly what happened to me. And it also tells you a lot about what I call the core fear. Everybody has a core fear, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, I just went to the supermarket, and I got out and I was feeling kind of weird. It's always my eyes, my eye movement, because of what I talked about with my stroke, my eye movement, everything kind of centers on that. And depending on how my eyes feel on any particular occasion, that kind of determines how much fear I'm going to feel. Anyway, as I headed into the bright lights of the supermarket, my eyes felt really strange. They felt, although this wasn't what actually was happening, they felt as if they weren't under my control, which sounds stupid to say, but they felt as if I wanted them to move one way, they weren't going to move one way. And this kind of prompted a kind of spasm of fear, and I thought, oh my God, what's happening? So I went and I was going to look at cards in the supermarket, save me having to go elsewhere, but they were all too expensive. And I stood there and I was kind of, as I bent down to look at the cards, I thought, oh God, I've really felt so horrible, like I was going to faint or something. I just felt so lightheaded. Really lightheaded. I mean, for me, that was quite something for me to get that disturbed about it, because it really was bad. So I did my best to just not tense up too much against it, which is what we all do when something really frightens us. I went and got a little bit of shopping, and then I headed off out, and I still felt really strange. And I thought, oh my God, this isn't going away. I went out, and it was still pouring with rain. I went and sat in my car for a few minutes. I thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I wanted to get this car, and I thought, I've got to go all up the road to get it, and it's pouring with rain, and I feel so weird. What if something bad is happening to me? And this is what I mean about the core fear. Behind all the symptoms that you get, whatever they are, and there's usually at least one major one, there's most likely much more than one, there's always a fear of the consequences of these feelings, fear of what these symptoms mean and what might happen to you. That's what I mean by the core fear. It's behind every symptom that you experience. Now, in my own case, obviously, all this dizziness and weird feelings in the eyes, I thought, oh my God, supposing I'm having another stroke. That was my core fear. Now, I mean, I carried this fear around with me all the time, but it varies. Most of the time I can keep it in proportion. But at times like this, it really, really got the better of me. I thought, what am I going to do? So I just sat there in the car. And I thought, well, I can't stay here. So I started the car off, and I drove through the pouring rain. My eyes were still full. I felt horrible. I had to stop at some lights and thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? I really thought that something bad was happening to me, because I felt so strange, so horrible. I thought, no, come on, you know what this is. My sort of encouraging right inner voice came to my rescue, say, come on, you know what this is. You've been through this any number of times. But it wasn't sufficient. I was still feeling really, really terrified. And my stomach felt sick, my neck and head were aching. I was trembling by this stage. I was really trembling there. I thought, come on, keep going. I drove up to where the car shop was. There was a space outside, so luckily I was able to park. I got out the car and I kind of lurched my way into this shop. I thought, God almighty, I'm going to fall over. I'm going to collapse in the middle of the street or something. Anyway, I found what I wanted. And there was people hanging about on the till area and waiting to pay. And I thought, please, just let me get out of here. And anyway, I eventually paid the money, and I hurried as quick as I was able, still kind of walking in this strange, ungainly fashion, back to my car. And I got in and I thought, go home. Which it was only a 5-minute drive, so the rain was still teeming down. and I was shaking like a leaf. Now, I haven't been like this for quite some time over the way I felt because of what I've learned and what I've practiced doing. But on this occasion, I was really, really scared. I drove back home and I thought, oh God, please don't let it be another stroke. Please don't let this happen now. Please, please. And I parked the car and I'm still shaking, went indoors, and I went, well, I shouldn't be doing this now, but I still do smoke. I went outside and just tried to compose myself. I went out and had a cigarette and I thought, calm down, slow down, slow down. And gradually all this weird feeling in my eyes, all this panic, well, it was panic really by that stage. My stomach still felt sick, and I still was shaking. I stood there and just let myself calm down, calm down. And I went and sat down for a while, and then after about perhaps half an hour, I was beginning to regain some composure, and I was beginning to think that, once again, I'd been bluffed by the fear into thinking that something terrible was happening. Now, this used to happen to me all the time, over everything it used to happen. So many little trivial things used to set it off, and that's when I used to have panic attacks. It was always something to trigger it. But on this occasion, because of all these things I keep talking about, all the techniques I've talked about to calm yourself down, to get over the fear, go past the fear, this is what I did. And I thought, well, this isn't really that different. I began to think more positively. I thought, this isn't really that different than anything you felt before. It's just you feel it worse because you're in a very tense state, very agitated state. So I just sat down and I calmed down, and I thought, well, I'm still here. I'm not falling off the chair. I'm not paralysed. Nothing else has happened. I know I could feel for a fact that my blood pressure, which is still high, not as high as it was, I could tell just from the way I felt my blood pressure was very, very high. And I wasn't brave enough to take the actual reading, but I just knew it was. But it took about half an hour and then a little longer, and I just gradually calmed down. And I thought, nothing's happened. All that happened was you got very afraid. Same as happened on so many other occasions. Now, that taught me a lot because, as I say, I haven't been that scared for a long time. And, what I was doing was a kind of trivial thing, but not trivial for me because, the way I am. But the feelings I got, the intensity of the feelings I got were so high, it was so great. It was that scared me the most. Anyway, I didn't handle it very well, to put it bluntly. I just, I got myself into a terrible state over it, thinking something terrible was happening, when it wasn't. It was just fear again. Anyway, after that and the rest of the day, I was kind of on edge, still brooding over it a bit, more wondering, why. I was back in the old questioning and analysing mode. Why did that happen? Why? Which is, pointless because you don't really learn anything from it. So, I got through the rest of the day. The next day, it was a much better day. It was a nice, bright, sunny day, and I thought, well, I've got to get a bit of shopping. And I remembered very vividly what had happened the previous day, and I thought, oh God, how am I going to be today? But I thought, well, that was just the circumstances. You got yourself too worked up over it. There's no reason why you should feel the same today. And I didn't. I went out and I just did my usual, just kind of let myself feel whatever I was feeling. And then when I came home, I had an email from one of my customers. Now, I haven't seen her for quite some time, but to get to see her, I have to do a 25-mile round trip by car, most of which was on the motorway. not my favourite place to drive. Now, I thought, oh God, what am I going to do? She was only free that day and the following day. Now, what I would have done in the past, and what I did far too much of, was to try and think of an excuse for not doing it, or try to put it off until I felt more like it. That's how I used to rationalise it in my mind, till I felt more like it. So I thought, well, you went through all that yesterday, nothing happened, you just got very scared. So why don't you do it now? Why not? I thought, well, that was as bad as I've ever felt, so, what could be worse than that? And I thought, well, do I really want to do this car trip? Do I really want to drive a motorway? All the questions come into your mind in situations like that. And I thought, oh no, to hell with it. Just do it. And I prepared, and I phoned her up and said, can I come up and see you? She said, yes. So off I went, and all the way I was driving on this busy motorway, I thought, well, come on, just let yourself go, just let your body go. You're just practicing driving, that's all you're doing, just practicing. And I kind of took that approach and sort of let myself go as much as I was able, just thinking, well, if I don't do it, who cares? I'll do it another time. And that's the approach I take with things like that. I think, well, it's just another practice, just another opportunity to practice dealing with the way I feel, which is basically what it was. Anyway, I was fairly calm the whole way there, surprisingly. I mean, the memory of what had happened the previous day, I thought, well, that was hell indeed. But I survived it, and I thought, well, it can't be any worse. I got there, and I was there for about half an hour, and we had a nice little chat, and I was surprisingly calm. I mean, it was such a contrast to the previous day. Anyway, when I came to leave, I drove back. I mean, I still was suffering a certain amount of lightheadedness. I always get that, but it's not enough, it doesn't affect my driving, because I can still drive adequately. And I headed off back home, and I felt really pleased with myself. I thought, wow, I've actually done something. I've done something that I've previously found hard to do. As I was going there, I remember the last time I'd done it the previous year, and I remember how I'd felt then. This is often the case. You have all these memories of all the past events where you've done the same thing, and the bad memories, frightening memories. And I thought, well, no, not this time. And driving back, I felt quite confident driving on the motorway. And I got back home, and I thought, wow, I did it. I did it. And it was a marvellous feeling of achievement. I mean, what I'd done in itself, by other people's standards, was not very much. But doing it in the circumstances, doing it based on how I'd previously felt when I'd done it, I mean, I felt that was a major achievement for me. Anyway, this was Tuesday, and this week was Shrove Tuesday, which is Pancake Day. You do pancakes, and since I had my stroke, my wife's been doing she has been doing all the cooking. I can prepare certain, sort of lunch snacks for myself, but she insists on doing all the cooking. Now, I haven't done any cooking to speak of. Well, any cooking at all, actually, since I had my stroke. And she said, well, if you want to make pancakes, go ahead, it's up to you. So, all right, I'll do that. And I went out and I put some music on, stuff I haven't listened to for a long time, because when I used to cook in the past, I used to put music on, just CDs and whatever. And I went ahead and did some pancakes, and they didn't turn out too bad. So again, it's a little thing to do, but for me, it was quite an important step forward, because I thought, I can still do these things. I can still do the stuff I used to do. And at the same time, I was listening to music, which I hadn't heard for ages. Now, all these things are just, they might, to an outsider who's never suffered in this way, they might seem so trivial, so unimportant. But when you've suffered as I have, and as you most likely have, with very intense feelings, and where doing just everyday stuff is a real challenge, then when you do something like that, it's a marvellous feeling of achievement, of success. Now, this is basically what the process of recovery is about. It's learning to do things that you need to do and want to do, with whatever feelings you're getting being actually there. And it's learning and achieving successes, as opposed to all the failures where fear has made you run away from a situation, or you've fought your way through a situation and felt terrible. Instead of all these bad memories of failures and things where things didn't work, instead of that, you're starting to build up success memories, such as my 25-mile car trip, and I dwelt on that the whole of the rest of the day. I thought, marvellous, I did it. And I kept reinforcing that success idea in my mind, saying, I can do these things. And that's it, that's the recovery process. You build confidence in being able to cope with yourself in whatever situation you find yourself in. And that's what it's all about. It's building that inner confidence, knowing that you can cope, you can deal with whatever feelings you're getting, and you can carry on and still do whatever it is you're doing. And this is sorry, my backdrop is falling down, it's all right. This is the secret, and this is where so many people have problems doing this. It's like they have to wait. They have to wait until they feel like doing it. Well, if you did that all the time, you never do it, because you're never going to feel like doing it. You're never going to want to go out and do these things. It's all too easy to make excuses, and I used to do this all the time. I used to make excuses for not doing stuff. Oh, I can't do that, I don't feel like it, I'm too tired, too scared, I'm too agitated, whatever. I was always doing that all the time, and as a result I used to stay in very limited things that I do. I mean, I'm still pretty limited now, but back then I was extremely limited. And so that's it really. It's practicing, and it doesn't matter what the practice consists of. If you're really severely agoraphobic, for example, and leaving the house, just you panic even at the thought of doing that, just leaving the house. And I know what that feels like, believe me, I do. Even if you just go and open your front door and step outside and then go back in again, that's a step forward, that's progress, that's a success. And it doesn't matter what the practice is, it's just, however small it might seem, it's the willingness to have a go at it. It's the willingness to face your fear, to go ahead and do things with it all happening in it. And I think this is the thing that people are put off by, because it's such a dreadfully frightening thought, of what could happen. Like me with my stroke, fear of stroke. Everybody has such a core fear, and if you analyse your own fears, your own feelings, what you're actually experiencing, if you follow them through and think, well, what is it that I fear will happen? What do I think is going to happen as a result of feeling this way? Like, for example, if you get heart palpitations, you fear that something's going to happen to your heart. With me, it's dizziness, and I think, oh God, I'm going to fall over, I'm going to collapse, blah, 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 all that sort of thing. With people with panic attacks, of course, that is, because it's the most terrifying feeling you can have. People have all kinds of core fears around what the panic is going to do to them. As I've often explained in my talks, panic can't do anything. It's just fear. a protective reaction in your body to danger. And it's not going to do anything except make you very frightened. And yet people carry these core fears around with them all the time. They're very afraid to face them, face up to what it is they're so scared of happening. And I've done exactly the same thing. All the things that I used to fear happening. Now, another example from earlier on, when I first had panic attacks, I used to fear that panic attacks were going to make me vomit. That was my core fear. And you think, well, why? Why are you so terrified of that? Because in my mind, this is the way it used to work in my mind. I think if I start doing this, I'm going to, firstly it's going to happen in a public place and everybody's going to see me, and I'm going to look stupid and feel stupid and feel very, very frightened. And if I went even further than that, I used to look at it and think, what is so terrible about that anyway? And then I thought, the fear behind all this was, what if it went on and I couldn't stop it, and it wouldn't stop? That was the core fear. What if it went on and on and I ended up dead? That was it. That was the root fear, the core fear at the heart of it all. Now, it's very useful exercise to actually do this. Look at everything that frightens you now and go look behind it and see what is there that you're so terrified of. And having established that, you think, well, what do I do about it? I'm this scared of it. You have to be prepared in your mind to accept that fear. So in my own case, although I'm still afraid of vomiting, and I freely admit I am, I have now reached a point where I can think, well, if it has to happen, there's not a damn thing I can do about it anyway, wherever it happens or whenever it happens. And I've also thought to myself, well, if it's going to be that way, that's the way it has to be. I can't. It's an automatic thing. I can't prevent it. I can't stop it. Same as all the other automatic functions in your body. I've kind of analysed it, and I've kind of looked it over and reasoned with it, and come to see that I can't change it. So all I can do is accept it. All I can do is just be prepared for it. And this is a gradual process. You have to. It involves going out and practicing and doing the things and putting yourself in the situations that you fear, where you get these feelings, and then being prepared in your mind to let anything happen. And this is particularly true of panic, and I've talked about this a lot, about panic attacks and how the total willingness to accept a panic attack and whatever you think it might do to you, that total willingness kills the panic off. And that, I've talked about it at length because it's very important for people suffering from panic, is to understand this. That actually does happen. But whatever feelings you get, you can still adopt the same approach. Now, I've explained this often before, but this is how the process works. You're telling your nervous system, which is producing all these dreadful feelings, you're telling your nervous system that by saying, all right, go ahead, it can happen, let it happen, you're telling your nervous system that it's not a danger. You're inviting this supposed danger to happen. Now, if it really was a danger, you wouldn't do that. No, of course you wouldn't. So you keep repeating this, yes, let it happen message to your nervous system, and as time goes on, your nervous system starts to believe that there is no danger. And that's how it works. That is how the positive cycle develops. Repeated acceptance of the way you feel. Keep telling yourself that it doesn't matter. That feeling does not matter, and you're going to do things anyway. That is what makes your nervous system finally calm down. It's a simple, logical thing. You're doing the exact opposite of what caused the feelings to happen. It's a positive upward cycle, upward spiral. You're improving, you're calming your nervous system down, which is, that's the root of the problem. Your nervous system is sensitized, overreactive, tired out from all this work you're giving it to do. And that is why you feel the way you do, so, feel so bad. Repeated acceptance and willingness does the opposite. Now, I expect some of you have watched that, and I think, this man doesn't know just how bad I am, how scared I get. You might think, well, that's all right for people who just get mild anxiety. What about me? I get this terrible anxiety. I can't do this, I can't do that. I felt overwhelmed by my fear, and it's so intense, I can't handle it. I can't go anywhere or do anything because of this. Now, in all these talks, I never underestimate just how bad and how intense and how horrible this stuff is. I've had years of it, and I know what it's like. I've been through all that. But the principle is still the same. However intense the feelings, obviously it's going to be harder when the feelings are intense. As I described, my little escapade in the rain the other day, I didn't do it right that time. I frightened myself too much on that occasion, and basically ran away from the situation because I was so terrified. It still happens, because that on that occasion, all I'd learned, I did eventually calm myself down, but I did it the wrong way, and that is why I did what I did the following day, to sort of say, well, that didn't work, but this time I'm going to do it the right way, and I did it the right way, exactly the right way. So I know all about intense feelings. I know all about trying to do things with such intensity of feeling going on, especially panic. Goodness knows how many panic attacks I've had in my life, hundreds of the damn things. But I do understand how difficult it can be to willingly put yourself in a situation where you're going to feel all this intensity of anxiety. But you have to do it kind of gradually. You do it within your own capabilities. That's what I meant about just doing little bits of practice, just little things. Doesn't matter what it is, it's the attempt that's important. It's the attempt to begin to show your nervous system that this stuff that it is producing is not dangerous and is not a threat. Anyway, I think before I go waffling on at my usual length, I think I'll leave it there, but I just wanted to give you those two stories just to show you the difference in approach and show you how this business, this recovery process is progressive. It's learning from experience. It's building up success after success until all these successes outweigh all the failures, until finally your nervous system gets the message that none of this is dangerous and it can stop producing all these feelings. The circle, the vicious circle, is broken, and that's how the process works. Very, very simple and straightforward, but getting to that point takes time, just as it took time to get into the state in the first place. Anyway, like I said, before I go waffling on, I'll leave it there, but I urge any of you who've got these feelings now, whatever the feelings are, and I know I've just met every kind of feeling in my time, please just do whatever you can within your own ability, your own capabilities. Just, even if it's only a small thing, go out and practice. Put yourself out and into situations do it gradually, as gradually as you feel like doing it. But please just try it, and you'll start to feel what it's like to succeed. You'll begin to feel the success and the achievement of doing things in spite of the way you feel. And that's what I felt when I did my car trip. I felt marvellous. I thought, wonderful, I've done it. And this is what you build on. Little by little, you build up your confidence again. And that's what it's all about. And then, you reach the point where none of it will matter anymore, and you'll be free. Then you can say you are recovered. And this is what people have done, and people continue to do, and this is what I'm doing, and I will get there, however long it takes me. Anyway, thank you for watching as ever, and I will talk some more about this subject, because it's certainly one that attracts a lot of interest. And as ever, please send me questions or ask me questions, anything you like. I'll try my best to answer. But for now, just remember, keep practicing. That's all you got to do. Bye for now.